So I always start with sketching. It's nothing special really, just trying to find like the big shapes of everything, finding the anatomy and the proportions. This is my big Pinterest board with a like where I just find different references. I have one for wolf poses, like I call it. I use that a lot, just save good poses and good references so I can use them at a later stage. Here you can see me have some troubles with the hind legs. I can't really find a good way to do them, so I ended up doing them like silhouettes and then just tweaking the silhouettes with a rep tool to find like a good pose for them, which I like. So when I had like the basics, I started to do the final sketch, just trying to put in all of the details, all of the structure of the face, all of the structure of the fur. Here you see me using the Fibonacci spiral to kind of find a good composition for the image. You always want to put like the focus points in the middle of the spiral, or well, you don't always have to do that, but that's a way to do it to kind of get the character in a good place in the image. Now you can see me do the second sketch. I usually do like 3 sketches, one very rough sketch, one more detailed sketch, and one final line art sketch before I do the line art to really nail down where all of my lines will be. And at this stage I can still be very sketchy, which I really like. So this is kind of an ugly, rough version of the line art. Now you can see me struggle a little bit with the paws. I always struggle with paws. Hands and paws, that's my big weakness. So you see me like going back and forth a little bit. Finally I ended up drawing like the skeleton of the feet to kind of get it right. So now I switched over to Paint Tool Sai, just fixing a little bit with the proportions in Photoshop first. So I usually use Sai for all of my line art. I've tried Photoshop, I tried Clip Studio Paint, but Paint Tool Sai, that's the greatest program for line art, for some reason. It's what that program does good. I kind of wish I used a little bit more different sizes in my pencil in the line art. I always think that this piece I'm gonna do different sizes of the line art, but somehow it's always ends up being kind of the same thickness of the lines. I guess I'm just lazy and forgot about it. Here you can see me just filling in on all of the ugly line art sketch I did with real line arts. Now I'm really concentrating on getting the smooth and nice lines. Now I started to color. So first I just block in my colors. This character has a quite simple design. It's an important part when you do comics to not over design your characters. You should be able to draw them 100 million times without getting sick of it. So that's why my characters have fairly simple designs. doing some swirly patterns on their buds. I'm not super happy with how they turned out, so I kind of took them into Photoshop to kind of shape them a little bit so they look a little bit more 3D dimensional. Now I started to do the shading. So first I do like some ambient occlusion by just selecting parts of fur and filling in with a soft brush where there are some ambient occlusion shadows. I'm doing this on a multiply layer in a group, which I also put as multiply. So this is where no light is kind of reaching. In all of the crevices there can be between two different materials. Now I started to do the shadow layer. I'm doing this on a multiply layer as well. Here I do a lot of detail with the fur, so I'm kind of adding and erasing and adding and erasing and adding and erasing. I also do this in Paint Toolside because of the pressure sensitivity that you have in that program. It's very good for making fur specifically. You get into a zen mode by doing this. You can just sit down and draw fur all day. Just painting, erasing, painting, erasing, painting, erasing. I usually go and look at how other artists do with their fur. I like to see how they do it to kind of get inspiration for how I can do it myself. So what I'm doing now is that I'm doing like a second light layer. This is a glow layer in Paint Toolside, just to get some more color and some more light in there. Just painting and erasing on the different layers. So now you can see me going back to that Fibonacci spiral. I'm trying to figure out something interesting to do with the background there. Now I'm doing the second layer of the shading. So this is my second shadow layer. I usually just select entire character and then I'm erasing away parts of the image with the selection brush that you have in Paint Toolside. So I have made the settings to work just like my normal pencil, and then I am just erasing away the parts of the character where I think no shadow should be. And then I just take like a soft brush and fill in with a slightly lighter shadow color than the first shadow layer. Now you can see me doing some rim lights. I always do rim lights to my characters because I think it looks really nice with the cell shading style. So I put it on all of the edges where I want the character to pop a little bit extra. Now I'm back in Photoshop and just using a texture brush to get in those swirly things that I was doing before. Also adding some overlay layers to pop up the colors on the background. And then I'm doing some post effects. First I went through the different loot layers in Photoshop, but I ended up not liking it. But I usually do some brightness contrast and some color balance is what I usually use for my post effects. Then I use some burn and dodge to kind of brighten up and make some shadows to the image to give the eye a little bit of a brighter part of the image to look at the eye usually is pulled towards the brightest part of the image, so that's where I dodge a little bit to make it brighter. And now we're done. I hope you enjoyed this and thank you so much for watching.